The UK is considering whether to make COVID vaccinations mandatory once they're available. A government survey has found almost half the population would support such a move, and a senior lawmaker says those who refuse could be banned from public places.
If vaccination works, and if we're confident it's safe, and all indications so far are good, then I can certainly see the day when businesses say, look, you've got to return to the office, and if you're not vaccinated, you're not coming in.
According to that politician, only vaccinated passengers should be allowed to use public transport. His comments have drawn widespread outrage online. Some express doubts that COVID vaccines will be safe, while others note a mandatory jab could only make things worse in the end. Meanwhile, in Denmark, a draft epidemic law could let police force the vaccine on parts of the population, but it may backtrack on the plans following mass protests. We took the idea of mandatory vaccinations to a panel of experts.
I'm certainly not against vaccinations. I've had one or two myself, but the situation is that we should only use vaccinations when they're necessary. Most vaccines take years to actually be approved, yet this one is being fast-tracked. And also, very bizarrely, the UK government is ensuring that people cannot sue the manufacturers or the government for anything which happens damage-wise as a result of this vaccine.
I think that we're in a real emergency situation. It's not like 5, 6 years ago when you can make choices as to whether or not to have vaccines. We are faced with a major threat, major public health threat to society. And therefore, I think government is actually right in speeding things up.
People are worried that this essentially is kind of straying into the area of draconian law, a bit of an authoritarian tinge to it. What do you respond to people who allege that?
And let's assume for one moment we have a vaccination which is safe. What should we do with that vaccination? Should we oblige people to have the vaccination? Well, there is no law here in the UK that the government could use at the moment to make it obligatory. In fact, the 1984 Act, which comes closest to it, actually prevents the government requiring people to undergo medical treatment or vaccination. So there isn't a law.
A lot of people are mistrustful of the vaccine because people are saying, well, there's all these big pharmaceutical companies coming in, they're making loads of money on it. Who knows what's really behind them? So naturally, there is suspicion. And I would rather that we dealt with those suspicions openly by discussing this and debating this and creating a situation where those of us like myself who really want to go ahead with this vaccine sort of get injected and get the vaccines, whilst in the meantime, we begin to convince the rest of the population, because the worst thing that you can do is use force. That will simply confirm people's mistrust. That will actually create far more problems in the long run, and then if we waited a little bit.
Basically, it's the same as forced vaccination, because if you can't go on an airplane or public transport or go in a restaurant or whatever, if you've had a vaccine, which most people don't even need, then we are in a totalitarian state.
If we got a hold on treatment rather than vaccination, and we kept doing what we're all trying to do, wear masks, wear gloves, social distance, is that not enough? Or do we really need to stray into, as people were saying, this realm of draconian laws, stepping on the toes of people's liberties?
Well, I think that if we continue the way we are, we're already stepping on people's liberties. I would rather not wear masks, and I would rather not socially distance for the rest of my life. I would rather have a vaccine, and so would millions of other people. I think most people that I talk to from different social backgrounds, are actually very happy to get the vaccine. They all hope that that will allow us to get back to a normal way of life instead of the present circumstance which takes our freedom and liberties away. So for most people, a vaccine is a liberating intervention. And I think it's very silly to say that we don't need a vaccine.